I've recently watched Smokey Glow's videos discussing Hanna, and I'd like to share my thoughts on a few points she raised towards the end. Firstly, while I'm uncertain if Hanna will ever come across this commentary, I genuinely hope she does. If by any chance she watches it until the end, I'd appreciate her feedback and thoughts in the comments below.
What's happening right now, and what people refer to as cancel culture, personally, and this is where I might lose some people, I understand, I know this is just like a me opinion, I get it. If you have a different opinion, that's fine, but this is mine. I don't think of cancel culture as this like negative, horrible thing. I think of it as a reckoning.
Oh, really? Let's take a look at what happens to people who express right-wing opinions online. Many lose friends, family members, and even their jobs over it. And it's not just limited to the right wing. Those on the left who disagree with the extremists face similar consequences. Did they just lose family members, friends, and jobs?
Decades upon decades upon decades, it's been socially acceptable to be openly racist. It's been socially acceptable to be transphobic, homophobic, sexist, misogynistic, basically every like ism you could think of.
Even today, this phenomenon exists, particularly in Muslim countries. You're aware of that, right? In Western countries, there's a similar dynamic, but it primarily affects men, straight people, and white people, especially those who fall into all three categories.
It was socially acceptable to do those things. Even like 10 years ago, it was still socially acceptable to do these types of things. What's happening now is a reckoning to say, no, it's not okay anymore.
Like I said before, it's more acceptable to treat whites, men, and straights this way, especially if you're all three together.
It's not okay to be openly racist anymore. It's not okay to be openly homophobic anymore. It's not okay to be openly sexist anymore.
Like I said before, it's more acceptable to treat whites, men, and straights this way, especially if you're all three together.
These things are not okay, and you're gonna have consequences if you do them.
If you treat whites, men, and straights like that, especially if they're all three together, then no, it won't happen, if at all.
People always look at cancel culture as the problem, and what I don't think they realize is that it's actually the solution.
I'm sure you wouldn't be so dismissive if you were the one facing cancellation. Regardless, it's a serious issue when cancel culture is used to silence people for any reason. As I mentioned, some individuals have had their entire lives ruined because of this phenomenon. Imagine if your life were destroyed to such an extent that your family and friends ostracized you, and you suffered significant financial damage. Do you truly believe that such a horrible thing is the solution? If so, I genuinely hope you never have to experience it, no matter the reason.
It's the solution for centuries of people who have been oppressed and marginalized by this sort of rhetoric in our society being allowed to happen. This is the moment where we are saying enough is enough. You can't do these things anymore.
So why don't you speak out when this happens to men, white people, and straight people? If you believe that cancel culture is a serious issue, then you should recognize that these groups also suffer from the same problems. It's clear you're focusing on those who aren't men, white, or straight, but they are now among those who face the very issues you're concerned about. If cancel culture is wrong, it should be wrong for everyone, regardless of their identity.
You can't, in like the case of Shane Dawson, you can't build your entire platform off of being racist and then still be one of the most successful creators on the platform.
You probably haven't tuned into YouTubers who discuss politics, such as Hunter, Avallone, and others like him.
What's happening right now is precedents being set for future generations. I think the thing that really frustrated me about this episode is that a lot of the conversations at the end of the episode really shifted into like, we need to approach things with love. We need to approach things with, compassion. We need to be able to disagree with people and still coexist with them.
It might not always be easy when it comes to matters of love and relationships, but living peacefully with people we disagree with is something humanity has been doing since ancient times. Despite the existence of extremists who resort to violence over disagreements, coexistence is not an impossible feat. Unlike in extreme regimes like North Korea, we generally can live together despite differing opinions.
I'm sorry, like fuck no, I'm not gonna do that.
It sounds like you believe it's important to recognize that we can disagree with each other and still coexist peacefully on this planet, whether we live in the same country or not.
I'm so sick of that narrative being pushed, especially politically. I am not gonna be nice to someone who doesn't believe that black and brown people deserve basic human rights.
I understand your concern. We don't live in a society like Nazi Germany, where certain groups are dehumanized and persecuted based on their race, sexuality, or other characteristics. characteristics. It's crucial to acknowledge that our current time allows for diversity and acceptance, though challenges like discrimination still exist and need to be addressed.
I am not going to be nice to someone who thinks that if you grew up in poverty, you deserve to die of cancer at 12 years old. I'm not going to be nice to you. I'm sorry. I'm not going to approach you with love and compassion.
Name one person in this universe who is in favor of the death of someone who has cancer.
Fundamentally disagree on basic human rights. There's no love and compassion that can fix that. I think that this sort of really idealized version of what we wish the world could be is not the actual reality of what the world is. There are people that would kill my best friend because he dates men, and I'm supposed to approach you with love and compassion.
In discussions about engaging with differing opinions, the focus often centers on peaceful coexistence rather than addressing those who advocate violence or harm. It's a reflection of the freedoms enjoyed in societies outside oppressive regimes like North Korea or specific extremist environments. If we reside in areas relatively free from criminal threats, it's reasonable to prioritize dialogue over conflict. Here's hoping for safe communities wherever you reside.
Fuck no. We don't have to hear out Gabbie Hanna when she has tried to openly defend and say that she heard out a side of the story. We don't have to approach someone with love if they outed somebody's sexuality to the rest of the world before they were ready to come out. Those things are not approached with love. We as a society, especially in America, are fucking broken right now. And the question shouldn't be, oh my God, how do we protect people who are being held accountable? It should be, how do we not have to hold people accountable in the first place? How do we create a society where this shit doesn't have to happen at all? Or at the very least, I think we need to take a really hard look at the difference between holding somebody accountable and actively bullying and harassing people online.
This does not mean that everyone who lives in this supposedly broken country is as broken as the country. Don't let people like Gabbie Hanna confuse you. Just because there are people like her who make everything you mentioned in this video possible, it doesn't mean we all make it happen. As I said during the video, the racism you mentioned exists mainly against white people, the sexism you mention is mainly towards men, and the homophobia you mention is almost non-existent, but the heterophobia and all of this happens in countries like the United States, Canada and Europe. You should be thankful that you don't live in North Korea or no Muslim country, because there is worse than anything you see in countries like the United States and Canada. As I said before, I don't know if this girl will ever see this video and comment on it at some point, but I hope she gets what I'm trying to say, if she watches it, because I don't understand why there are so many people who have this mentality of, I really feel sorry for anyone who is not a man, a straight person or a white person because he was oppressed for 1,000,000 years, or something like that. We don't live like that today. We live in the best time in the world, despite the racism towards white people, sexism towards men and the heterophobia towards straight people. I would recommend her to watch the videos of Brett Cooper and people like her about all this. But I don't think she will ever watch it, because I have a feeling that she is one of those people who believe everything they are told on TV. And if she doesn't watch TV, then she believes in people who are like goddesses on the news channels like CNN and channels like that. Anyway, see you in the next video, no matter what it's about. Goodbye.